Rachel Maddow, her sort of gravy train days of 25 million bucks a year, they may be coming to an end. So the 100 Days show, remember she was doing actual work for 5 nights a week. Imagine, crazy that it is. Yeah, she had to work 5 nights a week. Now she's going back to once a week. But I'm not so sure that this is actually going to continue lasting. And you know how I know that? Everybody's leaving. Every single producer she has is basically out the door. Everybody except for the tippy top EP. There was somebody else who had been there from the very beginning of the show that had helped create the show with her. He just said sayonara as of yesterday. And then her entire production team outside of the top kahuna, right, the EP, they've all been fired. So what's going on over there? I mean, I know they need to save money. Heck, you got to pay Rachel's salary, right? 25 million bucks. But my actual thought on all this is that they're phasing her out too, because as I've told you before, you cannot live in a world or exist in a world as a media company when you're paying these really, really fat salaries and you're not able to get any kind of return on your dollar. I mean, things have changed massively from 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Think about this. I'm here with you right now while I'm on the road. I'm able to do this podcast. You're responding. We've built this channel to upwards of 700,000 views a month. We got 98 million views in the last 28 days. I mean, this is incredible, right? Because everything has changed and I love it. I love it. Personally, I love it, right? Because I don't have to work for one of these networks. But I think these networks are suffering because they've been paying out the big bucks to talent like, if you can call her talent, Rachel Maddow, and suddenly they can't get any return on it. So the big story breaking here, let me fix my camera. See, you know, you guys are so patient because you deal with all of that. You get to see how the sausage is made. Hey, it's fun, right? Rachel Maddow is losing her right-hand man as the bloodbath continues. Oh, my friend Edgar, good to see you here. Thank you always for your generosity. I'm just looking at Edgar's chat there. He likes the outfit. Oh, you should see the whole thing. It's like a full-on pantsuit. I'm like Wonder Woman here today. Anyway, I like that. We like the color red, right? Color red is always, can't go wrong with that. MSNBC star, if you can call her that, Rachel Maddow loses her right-hand man as bloodbath at liberal network continues, or escalates. This is because they're just firing everybody left and right. They don't have any money anymore. This was like, back in the day, a pretty good purchase for Comcast when they rolled up all these cable channels and they thought, okay, we can just print money, except that something has changed. And all of a sudden those businesses have very quickly become dead weight. And when you have dead weight combined with political headaches, it's really not a good business to be in. So they're spinning it off. And ahead of that spin-off, they're trying to figure out what they need, what they don't need. You know, one thing that they definitely didn't need, and they figured that out pretty fast, was one, Joy Reid. Remember the lady who told you shouldn't be having Christmas dinner with any relatives that may have voted for Trump? I mean, half the country voted for Trump. Trump won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College. He won the election, Joy Reid, and yet you're trying to say we need some kind of civil war. This is where the Democrats are going, okay? They want to just cancel half the country, and that's kind of the MO, if you would, over there on MSNBC. And so I think the network started to realize, you know what, this is probably not, or at least not that network, it would be Comcast, the parent company. Brian Roberts over there, who runs it, the CEO, you know, he's not crazy. He's not crazy like Rachel or Joy Reid. And so they started to make some decisions, and she was one of the first ones that they parted ways with, along with everybody on Rachel's staff, aside from these two guys, the EP and then the one that just left. This was her commentary that evening, and I think it's very, very telling. She goes out on a limb. Oh my gosh, how could they have fired a non-white person? I mean, that's exactly where she goes right off the bat, right? Probably trying to save her audience to a certain extent. And I would just say, you know, Rachel, if it's really that bad, you should leave. You should leave. And maybe she's going to. Watch.
I'm going to take a little point of personal privilege here just for a moment, if it is okay with you. You may have already heard about changes that have been announced at MSNBC over the last couple of days. The new president of our network made it official today. Some of our shows are moving to different time slots or expanding or going away altogether. In primetime, just so you know, I am here 5 days a week for the first 100 days of Trump's presidency, as planned. And as planned, I will go back to just Mondays after that. That is not changing.
No, because God forbid I work more than 1 day a week. Continue.
What is changing is that the show, Alex Wagner Tonight, is not coming back at 9 after the first 100 days. Instead, Alex will be a senior political analyst for MSNBC, and Jen Psaki will start hosting the 9 p.m. hour all the other nights except for Mondays. So that's a big change. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two, count them, two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend.
Whoa, okay, here it gets interesting.
And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it. But there's just one other piece of it that you should know. From your side of the TV screen, you will mostly see changes in terms of who's in the anchor chair. And actually, everybody who's going to be in anchor chairs from here on out are great colleagues and great at what they do, and you are not going to be disappointed in who's on our air and what you're going to be seeing. But one thing you cannot necessarily see is that the people who get our shows on the air, they're really being put through the ringer. Dozens of producers and staffers, including some who are among the most experienced and most talented and most specialist producers in the building, are facing being laid off. They're being invited to reapply for new jobs. That has never happened at this scale in this way before when it comes to programming changes, presumably because it's not the right way to treat people, and it's inefficient, and it's unnecessary, and it kind of drops the bottom out of whether or not people feel like this is a good place to work, and so we don't generally do things that way. Maybe all of our folks, including most of the people who are getting this very show on the air right now, maybe they will all get new jobs here, and I hope they do, but in the meantime, being put in this kind of limbo, the anxiety and the discombobulation is off the charts at a time when this job already is extra stressful and difficult. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really, it's a big deal for our country. It's very visceral for us here. I know that the business of the press is not an easy thing, and I know that no job is forever. But I think I'm safe in saying for all of us anchors who you know through the TV, please know that what pains us the most is not what happens to us. It is what happens to our coworkers on whom we depend and who you don't necessarily know, but we respect and love them and depend on them. And did I mention we respect them? This is a difficult time in the news business, but it does not need to be this difficult.
Wow.
We welcome new voices to this place and some familiar voices to new hours. It's going to be great, honestly, and we want to grow and succeed and reach more people than ever and be resilient and stay here forever. I also believe, and I bet you believe, that the way to get there is by treating people well. Finding good people, good colleagues, doing good work with them, and then having their back. That we could do a lot better on, a lot better.
Wow. Okay. So she just completely called out her network, talking about biting the hand that feeds you. So they laid off all her producers. They laid off Joy Reid, and all of those producers are asking people to apply for new jobs. You know, I mean, hey, maybe since she's only doing one show a week for $25 million and she's such a socialist, right? Maybe she ought to just share the wealth. Hey, imagine that. Yeah. Fat chance, right? That's always the way it is. Somehow, you know, they want to fight for the little guy, all while collecting the money themselves. That's why I have no use for any of them, shall we say. So Rachel Maddow, she is a fraud, a phony. She sits there, gives a big spiel, sticks it to her bosses, all while, you know what? Her entire team gets laid off. And now the other big guy, they had like two big guys left. One's the EP, the other one started the show with her. He's leaving now too. So yes, there are lots of challenges in the media industry. I would say if I'm Spinco or I'm Comcast, one of those challenges would be easily rectified by not actually paying one Rachel Maddow $25 million a year for one show a week. Ba-da-ba. Okay? Like, come on, right? And by the way, I should say that's reported. Donald Trump has been kind of funny about that. He's like, I don't really believe that she makes $25 million a week because that's just crazy, right? But hey, it's MSNBC. They can be a little bit crazy. Sure. So I wouldn't actually doubt it. I would not be surprised that that is around what she is making. And I'm not sure why they're being held hostage to her. I mean, were her ratings that great? Nope. No. In fact, the whole network is down considerably. I guess because people realize they were totally wrong and they're only selling one thing. And it gets kind of old after a while, don't you think? I think.